Shalom, Ashbaka. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel, Tina Alishaba. Today we'll be picking back up on the Yashar series, or the Cepher of Yashar, or the Book of Jasper. And specifically, we'll be reading chapters 26 through 30. And if this is your first time joining us, or you've been on the channel before but haven't read some of the other chapters, feel free to go back to the playlist so you can catch up with us and gain insight and revelation, so that way these coming chapters make that much more sense. Because what I love about the word is that each chapter builds upon the next and brings the whole picture together. And chapters 21 through 25 were very, very rich, and a lot of supernatural things were exposed that we don't normally get from the traditional Bible or scriptures that are in the Bible. So, and these are obviously, the Book of Yashar was not included in the traditional Bible as we know it, the King James Version or the New King James, etc. and so forth. So, and that's why it's just such a treat to read this, because it helps us gain clarity, as well as, I like to say the Book of Yashar, or the Cepher of Yashar, gives the backstory of the Book of Genesis, or the Cepher of Bereshith. Because when I read, I'm like, I say mental note on this, or put a pin in that, because there's just some things that I'm like, I need to understand a little bit more. But again, that's just how I read. Everybody's different. And the Book of Yashar has given me clarity and filled in the blanks of areas that that weren't there before, just from, let's just say the book of Genesis or Exodus, for example. And the book of, or the Cepher of Yashar, definitely parallels both of those books. So with that said, if you haven't already, grab your Cepher or Hallelujah scriptures and follow along. Let's get started. Chapter 26. And in the 59th year of the life of Yishak, the son of Abraham, Rivkah his woman was still barren in those days. And Rivkah said unto Yishak, Truly I have heard, my Adoni, that your mother Sarah was born in her days, until my Adoni Abraham, your father, prayed for her, and she conceived by him. Now therefore stand up, pray you also, to Yahuah, and he will hear your prayer, and remember us through his mercies. And Yishak answered his woman Rivkah, saying, Abraham has already prayed for me to Yahuah to multiply his seed. Now therefore this barrenness must proceed to us from you. And Rivkah said unto him, But arise now you also, and pray, that Yahuah may hear your prayer, and grant me children. And Yishak hearkened to the words of his woman. And Yishak and his woman rose up and went to the land of Moriah, to pray there, and to seek Yahuah. And when they had reached the place, that Yishak stood up and prayed to Yahuah on account of his woman, because she was barren. And Yishak said, O Yahuah of heaven and earth, whose goodness and mercies fill the earth, you who did take my father from his father's house, and from his birthplace, and did bring him unto this land, and did say unto him, To your seed will I give the land. And you did promise him, and did declare unto him, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand of the sea. Now may your words be verified, which you did speak unto my father. For you are Yahuah, our eyes are toward you, to give us seed of men, as you did promise us. For you are Yahuah, and our eyes are directed toward you only. And Yahuah heard the prayer of Yishak, the son of Abraham, and Yahuah was entreated of him, and Rivkah his woman conceived. And in about 7 months after, the children struggled together within her, and it pained her greatly that she was wearied on account of them. And she said to all the women who were then in the land, Did such a thing happen to you as it has to me? And they said unto her, No. And she said unto them, Why am I alone in this amongst all the women that were upon the earth? And she went to the land of Moriah to seek Yahuah on account of this. And she went to Shem and Eber his son to make inquiries of them in this matter, and that they should seek Yahuah in this thing respecting her. And she also asked Abraham to seek and inquire of Yahuah about all that had befallen her. And they all inquired of Yahuah concerning this matter, and they brought her word from Yahuah, and told her, 2 children are in your womb, and 2 nations shall rise from them, and one nation shall be stronger than the other, and the greater shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were completed, she knelt down, and behold, there were twins in her womb, as Yahuah had spoken to her. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And all the people of the land called his name Esau, saying that this one was made complete from the womb. And after that came his brother, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. Therefore they called his name Yaakov. And Yishak the son of Abraham was 60 years old when he begat them. And the boys grew up to their 15th year, and they came amongst the society of men. Esau was a designing and deceitful man, and an expert hunter in the field. And Yaakov was a man perfect and wise, dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, and learning the instructions of Yahuah and the commands of his father and mother. And Yishak and the children of his household dwelt with his father Abraham in the land of Canaan, as Yahuah had commanded them. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, went with his children and all belonging to them, and they returned there to the land of Kevilah, and they dwelt there. And all the children of Abraham's concubines went to dwell in the land of the east, for Abraham had sent them away from his son, and had given them presents, and they went away. And Abraham gave all that he had to his son Yishak, and he also gave him all his treasures. And he commanded him, saying, Do you not know and understand Yahuah is Eluah in heaven and in earth, and there is no other beside him? And it was he who took me from my father's house and from my birthplace, and gave me all the delights upon earth, who delivered me from the counsel of the wicked, for in him did I trust. And he brought me to this place, and he delivered me from Kasdim, and he said unto me, To your seed will I give all these lands, and they shall inherit them when they guard my commandments, my statutes and my judgments that I have commanded you, and which I shall command them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, and guard the commandments of Yahuah, which I commanded you. Do not turn from the right way, either to the right or to the left, in order that it may be well with you and your children after you forever. And remember the wonderful works of Yahuah, and his kindness that he has shown towards us, and having delivered us from the hands of our enemies, and Yahuah caused them to fall into our hands. And now therefore guard all that I have commanded you, and turn not away from the commandments of your Yahuah, and serve none beside him, in order that it may be well with you and your seed after you. And teach your children and your seed the instructions of Yahuah, and his commandments, and teach them the upright way in which they should go, in order that it may be well with them forever. And Yitzchak answered his father, and said unto him, That which my Adonai has commanded, that I will do, and I will not depart from the commands of Yahuah. I will guard all that he commanded me. And Abraham blessed his son Yishak, and also his children. and Avraham taught Yaakov the instruction of Yahuah and his ways. And it was at that time that Avraham died, in the 15th year of the life of Yaakov and Esau, the sons of Yashar. And all the days of Avraham were 175 years. And he died and was gathered to his people in a good old age, old and satisfied with days. And Yishak and Yishmael his sons buried him. And when the inhabitants of Canaan heard that Avraham was dead, they all came with their kings and princes and all their men to bury Avraham. And all the inhabitants of the land of Haran, and all the families of the house of Avraham, and all the princes and grandees, and the sons of Avraham by the concubines, all came when they heard of Avraham's death. And they requited Avraham's kindness, and comforted Yishak his son. And they buried Avraham in the cave which he bought from Ephraim the Kittim and his children for the possession of a burial place. And all the inhabitants of Canaan, and all those who had known Avraham, wept for Avraham a whole year, and men and women mourned over him. And all the little children and the inhabitants of the land wept on account of Avraham. For Avraham had been good to them all, and because he had been upright with Yahuah and men. And there arose not a man who feared Yahuah like unto Avraham, for he had feared his Yahuah from his youth, and had served Yahuah, and had gone in all his ways during his life, from his childhood to the day of his death. And Yahuah was with him, and delivered him from the counsel of Nimrod and his people. And when he made war with the 4 kings of Elam, he conquered them. And he brought all the children of the earth to the service of Yahuah, and he taught them the ways of Yahuah, and caused them to know Yahuah. And he formed a grove, and he planted a vineyard therein. And he had always prepared in his tent meat and drink to those that passed through the land, that they might satisfy themselves in his house. And Yahuah delivered the whole earth on account of Avraham. And it was after the death of Avraham that Yahuah blessed his son Yishak and his children. And Yahuah was with Yishak as he had been with his father Avraham. For Yishak kept all the commandments of Yahuah, as Avraham his father had commanded him. He did not turn to the right or to the left from the right path, which his father had commanded him. Chapter 27. And Esau at that time, after the death of Avraham, frequently went in the field to hunt. And Nimrod, king of Babel, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field, and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. And Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. And on a certain day Esau went into the field to hunt, and he found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. And all his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they were removed at a distance from him, and they went from him in different directions to hunt. And Esau concealed himself for Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him. And Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Esau started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened and ran to Nimrod, and cut off his head. And Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were with Nimrod. And when they called out to him, Esau turned to them, and smote them to death with his sword. And all the mighty men of Nimrod, who had left him to go to the wilderness, heard the cry at a distance, and they knew the voices of those 2 men, and they ran to know the cause of it. When they found their king and the 2 men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness. And when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled, and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, and with which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land, and he ran and concealed them in his house. And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men, and he came unto his father's house, wearied and exhausted from fight. And he was ready to die through grief, which he approached his brother Yaakov and sat before him. And he said unto his brother, Yaakov, behold, I shall die this day. And wherefore then do I want the birthright? And Yaakov acted wisely with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Yaakov, for it was so brought about by Yahuah. And Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had brought from the children of Keth for the possession of a burial ground. And Esau sold to Yaakov, and Yaakov bought all this from his brother Esau for value given. And Yaakov wrote the whole of this in his Cepher, and he testified the same with witnesses, and he sealed it, and the Cepher remained in the hands of Yaakov. And when Nimrod the son of Cush died, his men lifted him up and brought him in consternation, and buried him in his city. And all the days of Nimrod lived were 215 years, and he died. And the days that Nimrod reigned upon the people of the land were 185 years. And Nimrod died by the sword of Esau in shame and contempt. And the seed of Abraham caused his death, as he had seen in his dream. And at the death of Nimrod, his kingdom became divided into many divisions. And all those parts that Nimrod reigned over were restored to the respective kings of the land, who recovered them after the death of Nimrod. And all the people of the house of Nimrod were for a long time enslaved to all the other kings of the land. Chapter 28. And in those days, after the death of Abraham, in that year Yahuah brought a heavy famine in the land. And while the famine was raging in the land of Canaan, Yishak rose up to go down to Mitzrayim on account of the famine, as his father Abraham had done. And Yahuah appeared that night to Yishak, and he said to him, Do not go down to Mitzrayim, but rise and go to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Pelishtim, and remain there till the famine shall cease. And Yishak rose up and went to Gerar, as Yahuah commanded him, and he remained there a full year. And when Yishak came to Gerar, the people of the land saw that Rivkah, his woman, was of a beautiful appearance. And the people of Gerar asked Yishak concerning his woman, and he said, She is my sister, for he was afraid to say she was his woman, lest the people of the land should slay him on account of her. And the princes of Abimelech went and praised the woman to the king. But he answered them not, neither did he attend to their words. But he heard them say that Yishak declared her to be his sister. So the king reserved this within himself. And when Yishak had remained 3 months in the land, Abimelech looked out at the window, and he saw, and behold, Yishak was sporting with Rivkah his woman. For Yishak dwelled in the outer house belonging to the king, so that the house of Yishak was opposite the house of the king. And the king said unto Yishak, What is this that you have done to us in saying of your woman, She is my sister? How easily might one of the great men of the people have lain with her, and you would then have brought guilt upon us. And Yishak said unto Abimelech, Because I was afraid, lest I die on account of my woman. Therefore I said, She is my sister. At that time Abimelech gave orders to all his princes and great men, and took Yishak and Rivkah his woman, and brought them before the king. And the king commanded that they should dress them in princely garments, and make them ride through the streets of the city, and proclaim before them throughout the land, saying, This is the man, and this is his woman. Whosoever touches this man or his woman shall surely die. And Yishak returned with his woman to the king's house, and Yahuah was with Yishak, and he continued to wax great and lacked nothing. And Yahuah caused Yashak to find favor in the sight of Abimelech, and in the sight of all his subjects. And Abimelech acted well with Yashak. For Abimelech remembered the oath and the covenant that existed between his father and Abraham. And Abimelech said unto Yashak, Behold, the whole earth is before you. Dwell wherever it may seem good in your sight, until you shall return to your land. And Abimelech gave Yashak fields and vineyards, and the best part of the land of Gerar, to sow and reap and eat the fruits of the ground, until the days of the famine should have passed by. And Yashak sowed in that land, and received 100-fold in the same year, and Yahuah blessed him. And the man waxed great, and he had possession of flocks, and possession of herds, and great store of servants. And when the days of the famine had passed away, Yahuah appeared to Yashak, and said unto him, Rise up, go forth from this place, and return to your land, to the land of Canaan. And Yashak rose up, and returned to Chevron, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all belonging to him, as Yahuah commanded him. And after this, Shalak the son of Arpachshad died in that year, which is the 18th year of the lives of Yaakov and Esau. And all the days of Shalak lived were 433 years, and he died. At that time Yashak sent his younger son Yaakov to the house of Shem and Eber, and he learned the instructions of Yahuah. And Yaakov remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years. And Esau his brother did not go, for he was not willing to go, and he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. And Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could. So did Esau all the days. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men and inveigled them. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time went as usual to hunt. And he came as far as the field of Seir, the same as Edom. And he remained in the land of Seir, hunting in the field 1 year and 4 months. And Esau there saw in the land of Seir the daughter of a man of Canaan, and her name was Yehudith, the daughter of Berari, son of Epher, from the families of Keth, the son of Canaan. And Esau took her for a woman, and he came unto her. 40 years old was Esau when he took her, and he brought her to Chevron, to the land of his father's dwelling place, and he dwelt there. And it came to pass in those days, in the 110th year of the life of Yashak, that in his 50th year of the life of Yaakov, in that year died Shem the son of Noach. Shem was 600 years old at his death. And when Shem died, Yaakov returned to his father, to Chevron, which is in the land of Canaan. And in the 56th year of the life of Yaakov, people came from Haran, and Rivkah was told concerning her brother Laban, the son of Bethuel. For the woman of Laban was barren in those days, and bore no children, and also all his handmaids bore none to him. And Yahuah afterward remembered Adinah, the woman of Laban, and she conceived and bore twin daughters. And Laban called the names of his daughters, the name of the elder Leah, and the name of the younger Rachel. And those people came and told these things to Rivkah, and Rivkah rejoiced greatly that Yahuah had visited her brother, and that he had got children. Chapter 29. And Yashak the son of Abraham became old, advanced in days, and his eyes became heavy through age. They were dim and could not see. At that time Yashak called unto Esau his son, saying, Get, I pray you, your weapons, your quiver and your bow. Rise up and go forth into the field, and get me some venison, and make me savory meat, and bring it to me, that I may eat, in order that I may bless you before my death, as I have now become old and gray-headed. And Esau did so, and he took his weapon and went forth into the field to hunt for venison, as usual, to bring to his father as he had ordered him, so that he might bless him. And Rivkah heard all the words that Yishak had spoken unto Esau. And she hastened and called her son Yaakov, saying, Thus did your father speak unto your brother Esau, and thus did I hear. Now therefore hasten you, and make that which I shall tell you. Rise up and go, I pray you, to the flock, and fetch me 2 fine kids of the goats, and I will get the savory meat for your father. And you shall bring the savory meat, that he may eat before your brother shall have come from the chase, in order that your father may bless you. And Yaakov hastened and did as his mother had commanded him. And he made the savory meat, and brought it before his father, before Esau had come from his chase. And Yishak said unto Yaakov, Who are you, my son? And he said, I am your firstborn Esau. I have done as you did order me. Now therefore rise up, I pray you, and eat of my hunt, in order that your soul may bless me, as you did speak unto me. And Yishak rose up, and he ate, and he drank, and his heart was comforted. And he blessed Yaakov, and Yaakov went away from his father. And as soon as Yishak had blessed Yaakov, and he had gone away from him, behold, Esau came from his hunt from the field, and he also made savory meat, and brought it to his father to eat thereof, and to bless him. And Yishak said unto Esau, And who was he who has taken venison, and brought it to me before you came, and whom did I bless? And Esau knew that his brother Yaakov had done this. And the anger of Esau was kindled against his brother Yaakov, that he had acted thus toward him. And Esau said, Is he not rightly called Yaakov? For he has supplanted me twice. He took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my blessing. And Esau wept greatly. And when Yishak heard the voice of his son Esau weeping, Yishak said unto Esau, What can I do, my son? Your brother came with subtly and took away your blessing. And Esau hated his brother Yaakov on account of the blessing that his father had given him, and his anger was greatly aroused against him. And Yaakov was very much afraid of his brother Esau, and he rose up and fled to the house of Eber, the son of Shem, and he concealed himself there on account of his brother. And Yaakov was 63 years old when he went forth from the land of Canaan, from Chevron. And Yaakov was concealed in Eber's house 14 years on account of his brother Esau. And he there continued to learn the ways of Yahuah and his commandments. And when Esau saw that Yaakov had fled and escaped from him, and that Yaakov had cunningly obtained the blessing, then Esau grieved exceedingly, and he was also vexed at his father and mother. And he also rose up and took his woman and went away from his father and mother to the land of Seir, and he dwelt there. And Esau saw there a woman from amongst the daughters of Keth, whose name was Bathma, the daughter of Elon the Kittim, and he took her for a woman in addition to his first woman. And Esau called her name Adah, saying the blessing had in that time passed from him. And Esau dwelt in the land of Seir 6 months without seeing his father and mother. And afterward Esau took his women and rose up and returned to the land of Canaan. And Esau placed his 2 women in his father's house in Chevron. And the women of Esau vexed and provoked Yishak and Rivkah with their works. For they walked not in the ways of Yahuah, but served their father's Elohim of wood and stone, as their father had taught them. And they were more wicked than their father. And they went according to the evil desires of their hearts, and they sacrificed and burnt incense to the Behalim, and Yishak and Rivkah became weary of them. And Rivkah said, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Keth. If Yaakov take a woman of the daughters of Keth, such as these, which are the daughters of the land, what good then is life unto me? And in those days Adah the woman of Esau conceived, and bore him a son. And Esau called the name of the son that was born unto him Eliphaz. And Esau was 65 years old when she bore him. And Ishmael the son of Abraham died in those days. in the 64th year of the life of Yaakov, and all the days that Ishmael lived were 137 years, and he died. And when Yishak heard that Ishmael was dead, he mourned for him, and Yishak lamented over him many days. And at the end of 14 years of Yaakov's residing in the house of Eber, Yaakov desired to see his father and mother, and Yaakov came to the house of his father and mother to Hebron. And Esau had in those days forgotten what Yaakov had done to him in having taken the blessing from him in those days. And when Esau saw Yaakov coming to his father and mother, he remembered what Yaakov had done to him. And he was greatly incensed against him, and he sought to slay him. And Yishak the son of Abraham was old and advanced in days. And Esau said, Now my father's time is drawing near, that he must die, and when he shall die, I will slay my brother Yaakov. And this was told to Rivkah, and she hastened and sent and called for Yaakov her son. And she said unto him, Arise, go, and flee to Haran to my brother Laban, and remain there for some time, until your brother's anger be turned from you, and then you shall come back. And Yishak called unto Yaakov, and said unto him, Take not a woman from the daughters of Canaan, for thus did our father Abraham command us according to the word of Yahuah, which he had commanded him, saying, Unto your seed will I give this land, if your children guard my covenant that I have made with you. Then will I also perform to your children that which I have spoken unto you, and will not forsake them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, to all that I shall command you, and refrain from taking a woman from amongst the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Haran to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take unto you a woman from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Therefore take heed lest you should forget Yahuah and all his ways in the land to which you go, and should get connected with the people of the land, and pursue vanity, and forsake Yahuah. But when you come to the land, serve there Yahuah. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the way which I commanded you, which you did learn. And may Yahuah grant you favor in the sight of the people of the earth, that you may take there a woman according to your choice, one who is good and upright in the ways of Yahuah. And may Yahuah give unto you and your seed the blessing of your father Abraham, and make you fruitful and multiply you. And may you become a multitude of people in the land whither you go. And may Yahuah cause you to return to this land, the land of your father's dwelling, with children and with great riches, with joy and with pleasure. And Yishak finished commanding Yaakov and blessing him. And he gave him many gifts, together with silver and gold, and he sent him away. And Yaakov hearkened to his father and mother. He kissed them, and arose and went to Padan Aram. And Yaakov was 77 years old when he went out from the land of Canaan, from Beersheba. And when Yaakov went away to go to Haran, Esau called unto his son Eliphaz, and secretly spoke unto him, saying, Now hasten, take your sword in your hand, and pursue Yaakov, and pass before him in the road, and lurk for him, and slay him with your sword in one of the mountains, and take all belonging to him, and come back. And Eliphaz the son of Esau was an active man and expert with the bow, as his father had taught him, and he was a noted hunter in the field and valiant man. And Eliphaz did as his father had commanded him, and Eliphaz was at that time 13 years old. And Eliphaz rose up and went and took 10 of his mother's brothers with him, and pursued Yaakov. And he closely followed Yaakov, and he lurked for him in the border of the land of Canaan, opposite to the city of Shechem. And Yaakov saw Eliphaz and his men pursuing him, and Yaakov stood still in the place in which he was going, in order to know what this was, for he did not know the thing. And Eliphaz drew his sword, and he went on advancing, he and his men, toward Yaakov. And Yaakov said unto them, What is to do with you that you have come hither? And what does it mean that you pursue with your swords? And Eliphaz came near to Yaakov, and he answered and said unto him, Thus did my father command me, and now therefore I will not deviate from the orders which my father gave me. And when Yaakov saw that Esau had spoken to Eliphaz to employ force, Yaakov then approached and supplicated Eliphaz and his men, saying to him, Behold, all that I have, which my father and mother gave unto me, that take unto you, and go from me, and do not slay me, and may this thing be accounted unto you a righteousness. And Yahuah caused Yaakov to find favor in the sight of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and his men, and they hearkened to the voice of Yaakov, and they did not put him to death. And Eliphaz and his men took all belonging to Yaakov, together with the silver and gold that he had brought with him from Beersheba. They left him nothing. And Eliphaz and his men went away from him, and they returned to Esau to Beersheba. And they told him all that occurred to them with Yaakov, and they gave him all that they had taken from Yaakov. And Esau was indignant with Eliphaz his son, and at his men that were with him, because they had not put Yaakov to death. And they answered and said unto Esau, Because Yaakov supplicated us in this matter not to slay him, our pity was excited towards him, and we took all belonging to him and brought it unto you. And Esau took all the silver and gold which Eliphaz had taken from Yaakov, and he put them by in his house. At that time when Esau saw that Yitzchak had blessed Yaakov, and had commanded him, saying, You shall not take a woman from amongst the daughters of Canaan, and that the daughters of Canaan were bad in the sight of Yitzchak and Rivkah. Then he went to the house of Ishmael his uncle, and in addition to his other women he took Machleth, the daughter of Ishmael, the sister of Nebaioth, for a woman. Chapter 30. And Yaakov went forth continuing his road to Haran, and he came as far as Mount Moriah, and he tarried there all night near the city of Luz. And Yahuah appeared there unto Yaakov on that night, and he said unto him, I am Yahuah of Abraham, the Yahuah of Yashar your father. The land upon which you lie I will give unto you and your seed. And behold, I am with you, and will guard you wherever you go. And I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven. And I will cause all your enemies to fall before you. And when they shall make war with you, they shall not prevail over you. And I will bring you again unto this land with joy, with children, and with great riches. And Yaakov awoke from his sleep, and he rejoiced greatly at the vision which he had seen. And he had called the name of that place Bet-El. And Yaakov rose up from that place, quite rejoiced. And when he walked, his feet felt light to him for joy. And when he went from there to the land of the children of the east, he returned to Haran, and he sat by the shepherd's well. And he found there some men going from Haran to feed their flocks. And Yaakov made inquiries of them. And they said, We are from Haran. And he said unto them, Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him, and behold, his daughter Rachel is coming along to feed her father's flock. While he was yet speaking with them, Rachel, the daughter of Laban, came to feed her father's sheep, for which she was a shepherdess. And when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, he ran and kissed her, and lifted up his voice and wept. And Yaakov told Rachel that he was the son of Rivkah, her father's sister, and Rachel ran and told her father, and Yaakov continued to cry because he had nothing with him to bring to the house of Laban. And when Laban heard that his sister's son Yaakov had come, he ran and kissed him, and embraced him, and brought him into the house, and gave him bread, and he ate. And Yaakov related to Laban what his brother Esau had done to him, and what his son Eliphaz had done to him in the road. And Yaakov resided in Laban's house for 1 month. And Yaakov ate and drank in the house of Laban. And afterward Laban said unto Yaakov, Tell me, what shall be your wages? For how can you serve me for naught? And Laban had no sons, but only daughters. And his other women and handmaids were still barren in those days. And these are the names of Laban's daughters, which his woman Adinah had borne unto him. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Yaakov loved her. And Yaakov said unto Laban, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. And Laban consented to this, and Yaakov served Laban 7 years for his daughter Rachel. And in the 2nd year of Yaakov's dwelling in Haran, that is, in the 79th year of the life of Yaakov, in that year died Eber, the son of Shem. He was 464 years old at his death. And when Yaakov heard that Eber was dead, he grieved exceedingly, and he lamented and mourned over him many days. And in the 3rd year of Yaakov's dwelling in Haran, Basma, the daughter of Ishmael, the woman of Esau, bore unto him a son, and Esau called his son Ruel. And in the 4th year of Yaakov's residence in the house of Laban, Yahuah visited Laban and remembered him on account of Yaakov, and sons were born unto him. And his firstborn was Beor, his second was Alif, and the third was Korash. And Yahuah gave Laban riches and honor, sons and daughters, and the man increased greatly on account of Yaakov. And Yaakov in those days served Laban in all manner of work, in the house and in the field, and the blessing of Yahuah was in all that belonged to Laban, in the house and in the field. And in the 5th year died Yehudith, the daughter of Beer-Eri, the woman of Esau, in the land of Canaan, and she had no sons, but daughters only. And these are the names of her daughters, which she bore to Esau. The name of the elder was Merzith, and the name of the younger was Puith. And when Yehudith died, Esau rose up and went to Seir to hunt in the field, as usual, and Esau dwelt in the land of Seir for a long time. And in the 6th year, Esau took for a woman, in addition to his other women, Oholibamah, the daughter of Zivon the Kavi, and Esau brought her to the land of Canaan. And Oholibamah conceived and bore unto Esau 3 sons, Yuish, Yaalan, and Korak. And in those days in the land of Canaan there was a quarrel between the herdsmen of Esau and the herdsmen of the inhabitants of the land of Canaan. For Esau's cattle and goods were too abundant for him to remain in the land of Canaan, in his father's house, and in the land of Canaan could not bear him on account of his cattle. And when Esau saw that his quarreling increased with the inhabitants of the land of Canaan, he rose up and took his women and his sons and daughters, and all belonging to him, and the cattle which he possessed, and all his property that he had acquired in the land of Canaan. And he went away from the inhabitants of the land to the land of Seir, and Esau and all belonging to him dwelt in the land of Seir. But from time to time Esau would go and see his father and mother in the land of Canaan. And Esau intermarried with the Karim, and he gave his daughters to the sons of Seir the Kori. And he gave his elder daughter Marzith to Anna, the son of Zavan, his woman's brother, and Puith he gave to Azar, the son of Bilhan the Kori. And Esau dwelt in the mountain, he and his children, and they were fruitful and multiplied. Hallelujah. This concludes the reading of the Cepher of Yashar, chapters 26 to 30. Mashpekah, family, there was a lot of meat in these chapters, so good. And as I stated in my introduction, each chapter builds upon the next chapter, and let's talk through it. And I just pray that you got a lot of revelation or some things really stood out to you. But I'm going to highlight several things that stood out to me in these chapters that I read. So let's just kind of go back to chapter 26, verse 7, and specifically, eyes are directed toward you only. And this was the prayer of Yashar, for Rivkah, since she was barren. But what the lesson I want to take from that prayer, and just specifically that statement in the verse, eyes directed towards you only. This is a time that we as a people, our eyes need to be directed towards Yahuah only. There is no plan B. There is no other option. The government is surely not going to save us. And unless Yahuah is leading you to move to another country, outside of that, the wrath that is coming, there's nothing that can save us from that except Yahuah, if you will. So, but I think that, I look at Yishua's prayer. Let's just kind of isolate it to that at the moment, and how he interceded for Rivkah. And the challenge I make to you, if you will accept it, is this is a time where we need to intercede for our people, to pray to Yah for them to have eyes to see, ears to hear, and to wake up from spiritual blindness so they can repent and walk in truth and choose to live set apart. This is the power of prayer, but ultimately the other part too, and the main thing that the point I'm trying to make is that our eyes need to be directed to Yah. So no matter what's going on, whatever, war breaks out, or whatever, famine comes to the land, or inflation is taking over, your eyes just need to still be looking up, and they need to be directed to Yahuah only. He is our Yeshua. He is our salvation. He sent Yahushua HaMashiach to be our Yeshua, so that we are reconciled back to him through belief in Yahushua and through repentance of our sin. So praise Yah for that. The other thing too is I'm looking at chapter 26, verse 17 and 28. I want to point out that, in case you missed it or you caught it, that Yaakov was taught by Abraham in the instruction of Yahuah and his ways. And it lets you know that when he was 15, that's when he really started learning the ways of Yahuah. And, I also think about the life of Abraham. He walked with Yahuah since his youth. So when he was little, he was with Noach and Shem, learning the ways of Yahuah. So imagine if we had the opportunity at that young age, or even at 15, what our lives would look like right now. And praise Yah for the brothers and sisters that are young right now, that are choosing to walk with Yah, that are learning the ways of Yahuah, and that are learning to live set apart, and just their lives are going to be completely different than those of us that are in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond. So praise Yahuah for that. Let's see. The other thing too, I think, matter of fact, before I move on from Abraham specifically, go to chapter 26, verse 36 through 38. The legacy of Abraham is summed up, in my opinion, in these 3 verses, where it says, "And he brought all the children of the earth to the service of Yahuah, and he taught them the ways of Yahuah, and he caused them to know Yahuah. And he formed a grove, and he planted a vineyard therein, and he had always prepared in his tent meat and drink to those that passed through the land, that they might satisfy themselves in his house. And Yahuah delivered the whole earth on account of Abraham." Listen to that legacy after he died. Everybody came out and mourned for him. He touched so many lives, not just his household, but those that weren't even walking with Yahuah initially, but those that did sit and come. They knew who his Yah was, and they were willing to learn about Yahuah, their creator. So it was his walk, not his talk. And that's the thing that, the difference in this walk of truth that I don't know if you've come to the conclusion or revelation of this, but it's really about our walk that does the talking for us, not our talk. I know when I was in religion, it was a lot of talking, to, be just, I'm a child of God, you know what I mean? But that doesn't win people over. It's our walk that wins people over. So, and that's why it's so important for us to live set apart. And it's not just, what we wear, like, I guess the fringes and this and that, whatever, or the head wraps. It's about, what the walk looks like, because that's what is going to speak to people. That is what's going to get their attention. And obviously, Abraham even fed people. He broke bread with them and met them where they were at, and that got their attention, where they wanted to learn from him. And that's why it says, that he taught the men of the earth, the children of the earth, the ways of Yahuah. And we know that in the same Cepher, or the book, Kanak, or Enoch, that's what Kanak did. He taught men the ways of Yahuah. It was because of how he lived, how he walked. So I just want to plant that seed with you all to go and just really meditate on that, and ask God to examine the way that you walk, so that, again, that's the testimony. That's where we want to get to win others. So there's that. Chapter 27. Let's go to that one. This is where it highlights by verse 12 and 13 that it was Esau that killed Nimrod. We don't know this in Genesis or the Cepher of Bereshit, but this is the backstory to why Esau ended up in Yaakov's tent asking for some food, because he was running for his life after slaying 3 men, specifically the king, Nimrod. And so, but I thought what was really interesting in chapter 27, which was done wisely, is that Yaakov purchased his birthright, but he testified with witnesses of the transaction. So it was documented. It wasn't just his word against Esau's. It was witnesses that were there to witness that Esau did sell him his birthright. By verse 16, Nimrod's death is summarized. He was killed by Esau, which was, from the seed of Abraham. And it was just the dream that that Nimrod had in the beginning of the Cepher of Yashar came to fruition. And then we jump to chapter 28. What stood out to me there that kind of like a consistent theme here. Now we're talking about Yaakov learning the instructions of Yahuah. So Abraham, as we just talked about, taught him at the age of 15. By 18, Yaakov was taught by Shem and Eber for 32 years to learn the instructions of Yahuah. However, in contrast, we read that Esau was not willing to go. He had no intention of learning the ways of Yah and no desire for any of that. And we see that in chapter 26:17 and even chapter 28:20 that Esau was a designing and deceitful man. That's how his character is summarized. And however, but Yaakov wanted to learn the ways of Yahuah, and he was able to do that under the tutelage of Shem and Eber. And then one other point I thought was really interesting, that Rivkah, his mom, had 2 twins, 2 boys, and that end of the day, Laban, her brother, had twins. So I'm just going to add that in there. Just to wrap up with 2 more points. Chapter 29, 29:11, in fact, we see that to escape Esau again from killing him, Yaakov leaves for another 14 years to learn the ways of Yahuah and his commandments. So he goes to stay with Eber for 14 more years. So think about this. At 18, he leaves for 32 years. So he's 50 years old by the time he returns back to his parents. And then Esau is upset again. So he leaves again. So he's away for another 14 years. So 32 plus 14 is he was taught the ways of Yahuah between Shem and Eber and Avraham for 46 years. No, actually 49 if we're going to add, Avraham. But end of the day, it's beautiful. I just want you guys to see that there was intentionality of our forefathers learning the ways of Yahuah, the instructions of Yahuah. And they were taught by their forefathers. They were taught by their grandfathers. And I praise Yah for even though they're not physically alive right now, but that we have his word and books that have been removed have been put back into our hands to be able to study and to learn the ways of Yahuah through what is written. And the last point I want to make is by chapter 30, verses 18 to 20, is Laban was blessed by Yahuah on account of Yaakov. And it goes back to, if you go into Genesis or Bereshit, I forget where it is at the moment in Yashar, but, where Yahuah blesses Avraham, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you. And obviously Laban blessed Yaakov by allowing him to stay with him. But with Yaakov being there, he was blessed. And not only did he was able to have sons as a result of Yaakov, but riches as well. And lastly, what it did remind me of, it made me think of Joseph, Yaakov's son, where Joseph in Potiphar's house, Yahuah blessed Potiphar as a result of Joseph and everything he cared for, looked after. Yahuah just blessed him abundantly. So I think there's something to say when you really take seriously walking with Yahuah. He really, his word comes alive in your life. You don't have to say anything. People will see it. And people will be blessed just for association with you. I've seen it in my own life. That's what it is. So, put in the comments what you took out of it, what stood out to you, or and I just definitely would encourage you to go back, listen, or read on your own, but really take in. I think if I had one thing that was most important throughout everything that I just shared with you all is, again, while we are learning how to walk and live set apart, that it's important to learn the instructions of Yahuah. That way we are continually renewing our mind, because if you're learning the instructions, you don't have to think about, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Because you're putting it, ultimately it goes to your heart, and the way that you walk is going to be a reflection of what's in your heart. So praise Yahuah. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And I've mentioned it already, but I'll mention it again, that if you like to catch up and listen to the previous chapters, check out the playlist under the Cepher of Yashar. But also there are so many other books or Sepharim that I've recorded since I started the channel, from Deuteronomy or Devarim, so there's Torah, there's so many books to choose from based on what you're looking, even from various prophets. Such a blessing. You have a Jubilee or Yehovalim. You have the book of Enoch, or the Cepher of Canuck. So many books in addition to this one, so that way you're able to read and study the word, meditate on it, while you are, your study time, in addition to, if you are going for a walk, or you're, cleaning the house, washing dishes, whatever you're doing, something to listen to just get the word of Yah in your heart. Hallelujah. And for those of you who've been rocking with me for quite some time, thank you for your support, for your comments, and just being a blessing to me and to those that come to the channel. Anea Habata Mashbaka, I love you, family. Yahuah Barakata, Yahuah bless you. And before I forget, if you haven't, please share, like, and subscribe. Be blessed, family. Shalom.